Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? So one of the big mysteries of the Star Wars sequel trilogy has all to do with the identity of Supreme Leader Snoke and exactly who he is and where he comes from in the Star Wars sequel trilogy that will be concluded by J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing I will say that I am really interested in is, of course, the identity of Supreme Leader Snoke and learning more about this character. Now, we do know that Episode 9 is going to be a film that's going to explore many of the different characters and their pasts, such as Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Rey, and even Supreme Leader Snoke. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with a major hint and/or indicator of Snoke's identity in Episode 9. Now, specifically, it's described that one of the costume designs for one of the sequences that was filmed for Episode 9 included a long black cloak with white stripes running down the back and front of it. It's described that the costume piece was dubbed as Senator-Snoke. It's also said that this was used for a sequence that involved a large political conference room that also involved unused footage of Leia. It's said that one of the scenes for Episode 7 included Leia discussing Snoke's background that was cut from the film that will be used for Episode 9. It's said that originally Snoke's backstory was planned to be explored if JJ's concepts were used for The Last Jedi. However, some changes were made and are now reverting to the original idea of Leia's dialogue, explaining Snoke to somebody. It's said to be extra footage of when Leia talks to Han that will be used in a different way in Episode 9. So I want to go over a couple of parts about all of this. Now, we do know that this movie is a big movie, and they are keeping the title on lockdown for a specific reason. Now, number one, we do know that the title had a big change a couple of days ago, and number two, they're negotiating on saving the title reveal until Star Wars Celebration. Now that we're entering into March, I think it's pretty safe to say that they have pretty much, finalized that whole entire decision. So I want to go over this costume design that is dubbed as Snoke-Senator or Senator-Snoke. And this is where things begin to get a little bit more interesting and does indeed match with some of the descriptions that we went over a couple of days ago, even weeks ago, about Snoke actually being a politician before the events of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And what's really strange is there were other descriptions of Snoke actually talking to Kylo Ren about politics. So you can really see how everything is starting to line directly up here. That Snoke appears to be, or once was, a senator before the events of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which is honestly leading me to believe that Snoke is actually somewhere in the Bloodline novel by Claudia Gray. In case you guys have not read that, it's a book that takes place 5 years before the events of The Force Awakens, and there's a lot of little clues in there about the First Order and the rise of it all. And of course, of Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, Leia delivering the truth to Ben Solo. It's a book that really does have a lot of material in there that really does fill in the gaps in between the two trilogies. So when I look at Supreme Leader Snoke, we do know that from reading The Force Awakens novelization, that he views Kylo Ren as the finest sculpture between both light and dark. So him being a politician at one point in time, it just seems to make sense. I mean, if you look at Palpatine, look, he was Chancellor Palpatine, right? Before he became the Emperor in the original trilogy and the actual villain that we all know and love and grew up with the original trilogy. So with that being said, it's not too far of a stretch to say that this costume design basically is telling us that Snoke was once a senator before the events of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, how it's dubbed as Senator-Snoke. Now, the actual costume design is described to be a black cloak with white stripes running down the front and back of it all, and that this will be used in the form of a flashback sequence, and some of the Leia dialogue will be used over the footage. Now, in case you guys did not know, there were a lot of scenes filmed for General Leia in The Force Awakens in which she was talking about Snoke to Han Solo. There were extended pieces of footage of that where she was telling, Han Solo more about Snoke, exactly who he is or who he was, so that Han Solo can understand. And that ties directly into, when Han Solo is talking to Kylo Ren on the catwalk of Starkiller Base, where he says, Snoke is just using you for your power, when he gets what he wants, he'll crush you. So he learns about him through Leia, but that whole entire scene was cut from the finalized version of the movie. So now that they're using a lot of Leia footage in Episode 9 from Episode 7, you can really see what JJ is trying to do. Now, I'm starting to wonder if Episode 9 is going to have a Godfather Part 2 format or not, where a lot of it's going to be flashbacks and a lot of it's going to be based in present time, almost as if it's half and half, because if you think about it, this movie really does have a lot going for it, and it's actually said to be a longer film than the usual Star Wars movie. So what does that necessarily mean? Does that mean that it's going to be the longest Star Wars film to date? Is it going to be longer than The Last Jedi? We'll have to wait and see. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.